In Chapter 6, we're going to learn about page layout. One of the things that's important to understand when it comes to laying out things on our page or putting elements where we want them on our page is in reference to the CSS box model. The box model, and you should know this for your test, just go ahead and memorize it, is content, padding, border, and margin. The content could be whatever we want. The content could be a paragraph, it could be the main section, it could be an image. The padding is the space that is in between that content and the border. And then the margin is the space that's outside of that border. So let's take a look at what this looks like. Here we have some code that has a border, padding, and margin. So we've learned that padding is the space between our content, and this is just placeholder text. So this is our content, and this space is our padding. So if we change this padding to 10 pixels, what you should see is this decrease. So let's run that, and you did see that decrease. Okay? Now it's important because look what happens when you don't have any padding. See, that looks really cluttered, and having just a little bit, even if it's just a little bit of padding there, it separates it and kind of draws the eye. It makes it look more appealing. Now this, of course, this green line is the border. We could make it thicker or we could make it thinner. Let's make it 25, okay? Now the margin is the space between the border and whatever else is on our page. So right now we have a margin of 40 pixels. If we change that to 0, see how it's all close? So maybe we want a little bit. Let's see what 10 looks like. Okay, so having that margin and padding and even a border can really enhance the way that content appears on our page. It makes it look a little better, a little cleaner. When we're adding margin or padding, we can use the margin top, margin right, margin bottom, margin left, as we've done before. But there are shorthand properties, and if you forget these, go to W3C schools and check them out. But if you have 4 values, you can go clockwise. So top, right, bottom, left. So that's if you have 4 values. If you have 3 values, it's the top margin, the middle number is the left and right, and the last number is the bottom margin. If you have 2 values, the first number is the top and bottom, and the second number is the left and right. And if you only have 1 value, that is all 4 sides, okay? So you can either be specific with margin top and give a value, margin right, give a value, margin bottom, give a value, margin left, and give a value, or you can use one of those shorthand properties. So while we're talking about the box model, let's go ahead and introduce box sizing. This is a few pages into the chapter, but since we're talking about it, we'll just go ahead and introduce it. By default, the browsers use something called content width, which basically means that you could have 2 objects that you said were the same size in CSS, but because of their margins or padding, they're actually displayed differently. So this is the case with these 2 divs. One of these, they're both 300 pixels wide and 100 pixels tall, but this one is a lot bigger than this one. Okay, so let's look at their CSS and investigate why. The red div had 50 pixels of padding. So that 50 pixels was added to the 300 pixels, making it bigger than it actually should have been. So to resolve this, we're going to add box sizing border box to our CSS so that our browser calculates border, padding, and margin the way that we expect it to, okay? So from now on, in our CSS, we'll include a rule that looks like this. That asterisk is the universal selector in CSS. That means it's going to select everything, every single tag in our code. So an asterisk and then box sizing border box will ensure that we do not have images that we have set the same size that end up being different sizes as they did here.